Welcome, everyone.
Yay.
Yay.
This evening's Toastmaster, Central Florida Club 9958. I hope you guys are excited for the evening.
Yeah.
Great theme of lobster, lobster everywhere, which I'm so excited about, with recipes galore. Please go ahead and turn off cell phones, beepers, pagers, Palm Pilots, PDAs, any electronic devices. You all know where the bathrooms are. We have no guests.
All right.
So in that case, we will jump right to it, introducing our president, Mr. Mark Lobster.
Thank you, Richard. Man, I was just so sluggish when I came in here tonight, and I'm just so motivated now. All that energy. Couple pre-meeting announcements. We have officer training this Saturday. Is there any officer in there who has not registered yet? Okay.
I will not be made. I'm not going to make it.
Okay. What?
He's definitely not coming.
All right.
Welcome.
Hey.
So, Susan, Tony recommended that you, Roy, and I attend the road show.
Yes,
If
that's
possible?
yes, that is at TLI.
Right, and also the 12 noon area council meeting, as well as our specific meeting for our particular road.
Yes, that would be a good idea.
Okay, thank you.
Would that be all the?
What's that?
The road show, just the three of us. Okay. That has something to do with
I see, guest, is that Pradeep?
Yes,
Hi Pradeep, I don't think we've met, so this is not your first time here though, right?
no, second time.
Second time, all right. So welcome back. We're glad to have you. We have the club contest coming up August 31st. For those interested in joining the humorous speech and evaluation contest. If you are not participating, consider signing up for a role to help Steve, who's chairing, right?
Yeah.
Chairing the contest. Okay. What's that?
No, that's.
No, the club, the humorous speech contest.
Contest he's doing on his own.
I'm excited about tonight's theme, so we're gonna hop right into it. Tonight's lobster diver extraordinaire will educate our group on facts and fun of chasing down those delicious bugs. Please welcome tonight's Toastmaster, Jaye M.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. I'm so happy to see those of you who made it tonight. The others are going to miss out on some delicious food the rest of the summer. Tonight's topic is a very fun topic for me. It was a huge part of my life for a number of years. Most of you know I am a certified scuba diving instructor. I used to stock my freezer every year with lobsters and conchs and grouper and shrimps about this long and shark steaks and anything else I could spear or put my hands on under the water. So, lobster everywhere. All about the Florida spiny lobster seasons, interesting facts, locating, catching, cleaning, cooking, and eating those delicious bugs. That's what they look like, huge bugs, when they're crawling around on the bottom of the ocean. Okay, there are 2 Florida lobster seasons. The 2-day mini lobster season and the 8-month regular lobster season. The mini lobster season is always the last consecutive Wednesday and Thursday of July. It begins at 12:01 a.m. on Wednesday and ends at 12 o'clock midnight on Thursday. The regular lobster season is always August 6th through March 31st. This year, mini lobster season falls on July 27th, today, and July 28th, hence my topic tonight. Depending on where you hunt or collect lobster, there are different bag limits. As of July 2009, the limit in the Florida Keys, Monroe County, and in the Biscayne National Park is 6 lobsters per person per day. This applies both to mini and regular season because they have to look out for the commercial lobstering people. So they limit the person. Elsewhere in Florida, you can keep up to 12 lobsters per person during mini season only and 6 lobsters per person during the regular season. The bag limit should always be verified before keeping any lobsters because they're big fines. A valid saltwater fishing license as well as a crawfish permit is always required when going lobstering. In addition to bag limits, there's also a size limit. And a lot of people think it's the size of the length of the tail, but it's actually the length of the carapace, which is the main body of the lobster from right on top of the head down to the very lip of the end of the carapace. And that is currently set at 3 inches long. And you will have big fines if you get caught with one that's too young. When you're going lobstering, some of the gear that you're going to need are tickle sticks, lobster nets, gloves, lobster bags, lobster measuring tool to get that 3 inches, dive flashlights if you're going at night, mask, fins, snorkel, and maybe full gear if you're going in deep water, full dive gear. So that's just a little introduction to my topic. And believe me, when you're in that water and those bugs are all over the bottom, you just can't wait to get to them. All right, let us do, I guess, I got out of order, didn't I? We need to do thought and pledge. Who's doing that? Or are we skipping to your educational moment?
Yeah. I can do educational. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Jay. Just a quick announcement. We have just started a new term here in Central Florida Facilitators. And I wanted to start the term off and kind of set the tone and just remind everybody that this is a professional atmosphere and that we are all professionals in our normal day routines. A lot of us come from different backgrounds. Teachers, students, business owners, authors, housewives, house husbands, you name it. But we get together and we're a very diverse group, so I just want to let everybody know that this is a place of no pressure, no harassment, just respect the people that are talking at the lectern and no interjection while the person at the lectern is talking. If you need to say something, raise your hand, point of order, you'll be called on, and things like that. I just want to keep the agendas moving, stay on topic, stay on agenda, so we can do this in an orderly fashion and get done on time. And with that, I will turn it back over to Lobster Fest diva Jaye Majors.
Okay, we need to go over the schedule, if I'm correct about that. We have some people jumping in to help out tonight. Richard is taking on the role of grammarian and counter, and Emma is doing timer, and we've got Susan taking the role of not only the general evaluator, which she signed up for, but first evaluator as well. And I think that's got them all right now. Okay, I want to tell you a little bit more about lobstering stuff. Sorry, but I love my topic tonight. The key to lobstering is finding the lobsters. Lobsters are found under rocks, coral heads, and shallow caves. Look for the antenna of the Florida lobster sticking out from under any of these items and then swim down to the bottom and take a closer look. Do not reach into the hole. You might stick your hand into the mouth of an eel or grab onto a spiny urchin, and neither one of those feel very good. I've done it. At night, you will see them crawling around on the bottom in search of food. That's when they eat. Remember, due to their diet, their color may vary from green in shallow water to red in deep water. Before you can find them in the rocks, you will need to learn the places they flock to and hang out. There are countless ways to find lobster spots, and I've even seen people selling GPS coordinates on eBay. But very rarely, it tends to be a family secret passed down from generation to generation. And when you find your spot, you don't want to tell anybody else about where you got your lobsters. So it can take some work to find a spot. If you don't have a boat, the place to go is to snorkel around the shoreline where the rocks are surrounding the bridges of, say, Duck Key or Bahia Honda Park, and in some of the small private marinas. The rocks in these areas are loaded with lobster, trust me. The areas under the bridges can be dangerous. There are strong currents that flow through the channels that are under the bridges, and I've done quite a few rescue dives for people forgetting where they were or going after their lobsters. The other problem is, if there's a good spot, there's going to be 10 other people trying to find the same thing, and you'll be climbing over them. If you've got a boat, you can find a rocky bottom in about 5 to 20 feet of water where there's some little coral heads and so forth, and simply snorkel down and dive around and find your lobster. A more sophisticated technique is to troll, dragging a couple people behind your boat on ski ropes as soon as they spot a lobster on the bottom, because that water is crystal clear. You can see where there's lobster. Even if you're really paying attention, you can see their big long antenna. So they drop off the rope and the boat circles back around, marking the spot, and if you can, GPS it, because likely that's going to be the spot you want to go back to. But again, currents can swim you away or drag you away from your spot very quickly, so you have to be prepared. And you'll need a scuba license, and of course, if you're in deeper water, you may need that dive gear if you're going to have to go below, say, about 20 feet. Okay, now let's get into our functionaries tonight. And I want to do the grammarian first. Grammarian and I counter together, if you will. Richard?
Yes, as grammarian, I have two responsibilities. First, to provide the word of the day in order to expand our vocabulary. I have chosen such word, which is sonorous. I will spell it S-O-N-O-R-O-U-S. Sonorous. Rich and full in sound as language or verse. So rich and full in sound. Use it in a sentence. The less than 3-inch lobster let out a sonorous yelp when removed from its mother. If you have an opportunity to speak, please do your best to use the word. Keep track of those that use the word, and fine those that do not, 25 cents. Yes, the members who have not given their icebreaker will not be fined. Second role, I counter. Job is to keep track of audible crutches, such as and double clutches, which is the repetition of a word while the speaker thinks of their next word. I will also note sentences strung together with bridge words like and or so. I will report the hint meaning where I noted any of these infractions. And I will try to do the buzzer tonight as well. So with that, thank you.
Emma, if you would please give us your role tonight.
Keeping my glasses on.
They're on your head.
My sunglasses on, my glasses. One of the skills that Toastmaster practice is generally the keep on time when you're doing speeches, sales topics, and evaluations. To do that, we generally use either time cards and time lights. Here we use time lights. For the speeches today, we have Mark and Charlie. They're both 6 to 8? Okay, so when it hits 6, for the speakers, I will do the green light, 7, and then 8. For the table topics, it's 1 and 2. So 1, 1.5, and 2. And then the evaluations is 2 to 3, so 2, 2.5, and 3. All the questions and over signing every second question.
All right, let's move into our speeches. Our first speaker tonight.
Point number 8.
Okay,
Can we get the vote counter? Supervisor of elections.
okay, let's supervisor of elections.
Thank you, Mr. Lockery. This vote counter, I pick up your ballots for best speaker, best table topics master, and best evaluator, and most improved speaker. I will tally the results for award presentations at the end of the meeting. I will also pick up any comments you might have for the speakers or any meeting participant and deliver the comments back to the appropriate person. Thank you, Madam Tabletop or Toastmaster.
Thank you, Roy. Now we can hear some interesting speeches. Our first speaker tonight, due to circumstances beyond his control, our first speaker this evening had to make a last-minute change in speeches. Tonight, you will not be hearing a whimsical and adventurous tale about meat and potatoes. Oh, gee. You will instead learn about the one thing that holds this planet together and keeps it from falling into the abyss of chaos. Please welcome Mark Lockery with his speech about a small thing called protocol.
Madam Toastmaster.
Don't you know cats always come first? Okay. For our second amazing speaker. Okay, a minute on, yes. Our next speaker, with his amazing speech, is determined to finish 10 speeches by the end of December. He has been a member of facilitators off and on for about 8 years, but one of his dreams is to accomplish all that is necessary to earn distinguished Toastmaster. He knows he has a long way to go, so he is doubling his efforts to accomplish this goal. Please help me welcome Charlie Bombalier on his speech, Dare to Dream.
With a show of hands, how many amongst us still dare to dream? Now, how many of those are actually pursuing their dreams right now? Great. Dr. Martin Luther King dared to dream. He dreamt big, and he pursued his dream with passion and tenacity. Yes, he lost his life to an evil person, but his death was not in vain. He's made history for decades to come. I had a dream. My first dream was when I was a child. The first dream that I can recall as a child was to get out of the abyss that I fell into, the depth of hell. And I wanted to get out, and I wanted to see the beach again that I used to love. I wanted to see the ocean, the blue skies. I wanted to run in the sand. And I did get to do that, thankfully. One of the most powerful dreams that I can remember as I grew up was I wanted to have the all-American family. I was determined I wanted the all-American family. I wanted to marry a beautiful girl. I did. I wanted to have children. I did. I ended up with the original Charlie's Angels. And I wanted to have a dog that I was never allowed to have when I was a child. Well, I did have a dog, and cats, and rabbits, and chickens, and turtles, and a tank full of fish. I had my dream. The next dream that I went after, I wanted to work for a corporation and start at the bottom and climb the ladder of success. I did. I started loading beer trucks in a warehouse at night so they will be delivered the next morning. Then I went to assistant driver. Then I went to a merchandiser. Then I got promoted to salesman. From salesman, I went to supervisor. Finally, I went to sales manager of the company. 249 people. That's the highest I could go because it was a family-owned business. I was right below the owner. And it was great. A tremendous expense account, a new car. Life was good. This company was doing $15 million a year when I first came. I was part of the team that was able to accomplish 2 years in a row Miller Masters, which is the most distinguished award that you can receive as a distributorship. The year that I left the company, when I retired, we became the 5th largest beer distributorship in the country, and we made $60 million. Another dream that came to me was, now I wanted to have my own business and be successful at it. I did. I had 3 successful businesses. A restaurant in Jacksonville, a prepaid phone card business in Fort Lauderdale, and an alarm company here in Orlando. Then I got sassy. I wanted to make $1 million. I did. I made $1.25 million in 1 year in the prepaid phone card business. life was really getting good. During all this time, I always had a metal mesh around my heart since childhood, because I was not going to let anyone hurt me. As it got better and better for me, I was really excelling in pride. I had a nice house on the lake in Fort Lauderdale, new cars. So I opened up my heart. I took the walls down. Then disaster came. I lost tons of money to people that I trusted. I went from depression to depression to depression, drinking, no drugs, but plenty of drinking. I didn't care about much. I wasn't going to get anyone else to get inside of me again, so the walls went back up. And I thought, this time no one's going to get in. Ironically, something happened that I was not aware of, and it just consumed me. Because prior to that, the only other person that I had let in years into my heart was Jonathan Dunn. And that's because we're both broken souls and we tried to mend each other. And that took 2 years to let him in. But I recently met someone that just reached in and touched my heart. I think it was because they let me touch their heart first. And because of that, I became motivated. I felt more powerful. I felt empowered. And now that I had it open, I didn't want to mess it up again. I didn't want to put that wall, because that wall kept everyone out, including some of my family members. Everybody was at a distance. But I've recently read a couple of books because it motivated me. And I just finished reading Loving Everyone by Michael Chase. And I'm reading Discover Your Destiny, Live Your Dreams, Love Your Life. My friends, the advice that I can give you, don't let anyone get you to build a wall. Even if it hurts, it will open up incredibly. Madam Toastmaster.
Can we have a minute on the clock? Thank you. Okay, a few more interesting facts about Florida lobsters. There are a few different types of lobsters. The main difference in the types of lobsters can be seen in the claws or the pincers. Of course, we've all had Maine lobster, and they have those big old claws and the big tail. But the Florida lobster doesn't have claws. It has long spiny antennae and little pincers on the front of its carrots. So that's how you obviously know the difference. The American or Maine lobster is the one with the big claws. It's known as a cold water lobster due to its normal habitat. The spiny or rock or speckled Florida lobster is generally considered a warm water lobster. Lobsters are most commonly caught for their tail meat in Florida, while in Maine it's for the claws. Baby lobsters. The female lobster holds up about 1 million eggs during the reproductive season, 9 to 10 weeks. And if you've ever caught a female lobster that has the eggs, you know it when you see it, when you break it apart. The eggs begin in a soft texture of a very bright deep orange color that deepens as they mature and become hard. The young larvae and juvenile lobsters stay in shallow waters to hide from predators. One of the most common predators of the Florida lobster is the lionfish. The lionfish can consume 20 small baby lobsters or wrasse fish in a 30-minute time frame. Imagine how many lobsters get wiped away. And as far as adult lobsters, their predators are primarily eels and sharks, which I've seen the lobsters getting eaten by the sharks. Lobster migration. Lobsters grow, as the small lobsters grow, they migrate to deeper water. Lobsters also migrate during the year as the water temperatures change. In the wintertime, they go deeper because the shallow waters get cold. And then as we get into spring and summer and the warmer weathers come, they move back to shallow water. Storms are often a cause of migration as well because of what it does to the ocean and the churning and the waves and the currents. It is speculated that the tropical and winter storms are a strong factor in lobster population habitats and the crossbreeding. That's why we have a lot of Caribbean and Spanish lobsters in the Florida waters. Coloring. Spiny lobsters generally eat at night, preying on small, slow-moving species such as smaller crustaceans, mollusks, and bivalves. Lobster coloring is highly determined by their diet. So the ones that are in deeper water are typically red because the color of what they're eating, those animals eat the algae, and in deep water the algae is red. Lobsters that are in shallow water, which are easier to grab and harvest without boats and all of that, are typically green. So if you see the body, you'll see that green shell, or if you're in deeper water, you'll see the red shell, because in shallow water, what they eat is the green algae that lives in shallow water. So it's quite interesting. You may think they're different types of lobsters. No, it's just what they eat. I want to talk a little bit about the lionfish, which is a disaster in the Florida waters, which many of you may not know about. The Florida FWC has been jumping on this for the last few years, and they've recruited lobster divers in particular to remove the lionfish. Any way you can kill them, any way you can get them. And if you get 10 or more that you can document that you killed in one day, you get to take an extra lobster home. All in one day. And that's a pretty good motivator. It's a disaster in our waters, and it's because people who have fish tanks, who have had the things that have gotten too big, dumped them out in our ocean, and they multiply like you wouldn't believe, and they are causing all kinds of havoc to other animal life. And at this point in time, there's no predators for them, there's no disease or parasites in the Florida, in our area, that is working to kill them off. So it's a critical thing for anybody to be able to get rid of those lionfish, and they're beautiful. The added benefit, though, for the diver, those fish are delicious on your dinner plate. Just to let you know. Okay, I think. Yes. Give me your timer's report, please.
Qualified. Mark, you qualified. Charlie, you went over time by 10 seconds. You were 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Mark, you were 7 minutes and 30.
Okay, thank you. Now it is time for another fun part of the evening, which I will table topics. A chance meeting led to a gathering at a seafood restaurant where tonight's table topics master was treated to a twin lobster dinner. That was the beginning of a beautiful friendship and the beginning of tonight's table topics presented by Advanced Toastmaster Gold, Stephen Morgan.
With our theme of Lobster Fest. You've heard about the trawlers that will go cruising along, dragging things across the bottom to pick up whatever they can, often looking for, amongst other things, lobsters. But you'll also often think of trawling in perhaps some other contexts. So when was the last time you went trawling? Start with Bridget.
Funny you should ask that. The last time I did any trawling was actually on a boat in the ocean catching fish. So I was at least the last that I can remember of such an event. Probably 13 or 14 years old. We were out deep sea fishing, which if you've ever been trawling on a deep sea charter boat, it is boring. I mean, literally, you are driving through the ocean very slow, just waiting for something to catch. And it can take hours, and you can end up with nothing, which is the case that happened. And therefore, I have decided not to participate in any sort of fashion ever again. Not to say that I don't like fishing. I just don't like idly cruising by waiting for something else to happen. I would much rather be the proactive one that can take charge and actually affect what I'm catching, other than just the bait on the back of the boat. So, to answer your question, the last time I went trawling was exactly the moment, experience that you said to do something else with. So, Mr. Tabletop.
We typically like to cook our lobsters by dropping them in the boiling water. I'm sure you can think of a time that you've at least felt that way. So when did you find yourself last in hot water, boy? Ready?
When did I find myself last in hot water?
Yep.
Like a lobster. By the way, I love the theme tonight, Jay. I hate fishing, but I love trolling for lobster and everything. Actually, Stephen, I found myself in hot water this morning. Believe it or not. I've started working from home a couple days per week. Try to avoid the commute, sitting through traffic, just you get an earlier start on the day. One of the nice things you can do when you work from home is you can roll out of bed, drink a cup of coffee, and start working. The problem with that is when you're married and you have 2 young kids, your wife bears the brunt of that. For some reason, as I move forward with this work from home thing, I tend to dismiss myself from the kids and all the morning activities that go along with that, packing lunches, making breakfast, so on and so forth. So I'm in my office working this morning, And I could hear my wife getting frustrated. I could hear her grunting even though she wasn't making a sound. So I go out and I ask, what can I do to help, honey? Make them breakfast. I go ahead and make them breakfast. Takes me about a minute. I'm back off in my office with the door closed. 30, 45 minutes later, I can hear her grunting. I can just see her steaming. So I walk out and I'm kind of upset. So I go, what do you need? What do you need help with? I can't read your mind. And that did not go over very well at all, whatsoever. I'm pretty sure she left pretty pissed off for the day, and I'll hear it when we get home. As I move forward, hopefully I'll figure this work from home thing out better. I can't just dip off and barricade myself in the office and let the family fend for themselves. Other than that, I had gone a good 4, 5, 6 weeks without really getting in trouble, but I definitely blew it this morning. Tabletop.
As a veteran of working from home many, many years, you need to start setting up the protocols. Mark might have some ideas.
Agreed.
As Jay described, you might want to be taking out your tickle sticks to go take care of those lobsters. Help capture them. So when was the last time you had an interesting, fun time with a tickle stick or otherwise? Emma?
Well, if you mean like tickling your girlfriend, that works because she was here 3 weeks ago, I think. And every time she turned around, I would start tickling her. She'd be like, stop it! Turn around and trying to get her to stop. Of course, being me, I don't. And then I get in trouble and get yelled at. That is not fun. But making her get all flustered because I'm tickling her is. You know how someone's face light up when they're talking about a certain person? Or start hanging out with a certain person, or even like a certain person? Their face lights up, your face lights up, stuff like that. And part of it is because they're getting annoyed and or embarrassed. Because sometimes I do it in front of people, I'm just like, stop! She literally goes, stop! I'm like, jumping. So yes, she gets annoyed with me when I say questions.
Pradeep, would you like to take on one this evening?
Sorry?
Would you like to take on one this evening?
Yeah.
Tabletop.
Try it? All right.
Since there are some breeds of lobster who will not die naturally, they will live forever if left to their own. If you were given that opportunity, what would you want to do with a life that would go on forever?
Can you hear the question? Sorry, would you repeat it?
Some breeds of lobster can live forever. They will not die naturally of old age. If you had that opportunity, what would you do with your life if that's the way yours went?
So I'm an IT professional right now, and besides that, I'm also a wellness champion for the company, and that gives me an opportunity to talk to new hires or some of the departments about creation health, which is just how you live healthy or how you make an impact on those around you. So if I have an option to live longer, I would really like to make an impact on those who I get to work with, or my family or my colleagues, in terms of making them more aware about how everyday choices that we make, small ones or big ones, or how activity or how relationships impact our health. Because I lost my father when he was just 57. He passed away. He really took great care of all of us, and just because of his hard work, like my brother and me, we are very well settled. So only thing was he couldn't take good care of himself, and that I still feel a lot about. So I really want to make sure I can positively impact other people. So they have a long healthy life.
Amongst the joys of eating lobster is the fun of having your food looking back at you. How do you handle that, Susan?
How do I get over that? Well, when it's with lobster, I just try and get the tail and not the whole lobster. Maybe I take a napkin and kind of throw it over the eyes. But most of the time, when I go to a seafood restaurant, I order something that comes in a fillet of some sort, so I'm not actually seeing the eyes. I have had a few times where I was fishing in my past on a boat, and we actually caught a lobster. And I just made my husband kill it. I ate it fine. The kids kind of thought that was interesting as well. They were like, "Where's Sharpie?" Tell me. But I probably would have a very challenging time with looking at something in the face and knowing I'm going to eat it. I don't really like those kinds of meals that come out that way, so I tend to go to the places that won't do that. Mr. Tabletop
Of course, it can be quite messy. That's why they give you the bib. You also have to take the nutcracker or whatever else they're calling it in order to be able just to get through the shell. It seems like it takes more effort to eat it than you gain from actually eating the lobster. So when have you found yourself in a situation of putting in effort for what seemed to be little to no or worse negative reward? Charlie?
The last part.
When did you find yourself putting in effort and discovering it seemed to be giving you little to no or negative reward?
Mr. Tabletop Master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. I found myself in that situation quite a bunch of times. Especially, I'll give you an interesting scenario. Because I work with kids, and some of them are from dysfunctional families, unfortunately, I found myself really working well with the kids when I get them out of their environment. I would take them out for an ice cream or to lunch, whatever the situation was at that time. One instance that I really bothered me was I had this little kid. He was 17 years old, but about a 12-year-old mentality. The mother kept telling me. When I took him out after a couple months, and he got used to me, he was talking about girls and everything like a 17-year-old kid. When I brought him home, within 10 minutes, he would regress back to, "Mommy, look, Mommy, I got this, Mommy. He bought me ice cream, Mommy." It wasn't the kid, it was the mother. Even though I reported it to DCF, as far as I know, I'm still living with him. And that was the frustrating part, and I had several of those. Mr. Tabletop Master.
Now, we've always come across this problem when you go to pick your meal or even to go explain what it is you're going to catch. We have people saying lobster or people saying crab, and yet I can't seem to tell the difference, certainly not in taste. And sometimes when they bring out the meal, it's like, what's the difference? Jay, please explain. What is going to be the difference?
Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master. There is a huge difference in the flavor and the texture of both lobster and crab. And it also depends on what type of lobster and what type of crab you are eating, because there are several different kinds. Yes, they both have hard shells. I would say the lobster shell from the main lobster, especially on the claws, is thicker, much and much harder. The claws of the Maine lobster, a lot of people seem to think that's the best part of the Maine lobster. But to be honest with you, I believe it's the tail. Compared to the Florida lobster that we get here is the best, the sweetest tasting meat of any type of meat that you will ever get from the ocean. Look for the Florida spiny speckled Spanish lobster. It has such a smooth, sweet flavor. And the only thing you're going to eat off of that is the tail. Maybe if it's a female, you can eat the roe, which is also delicious at the right time. Crabs, on the other hand, their shells are thinner. Typically, their meat is not as thick and of the same consistency, unless they're really, really old. Their flavor is also not quite as strong as that of the lobster. And if you're going to look at the big claws of the crab versus those little bitty ones called blue crabs that you've got to pick out, that's really much more difficult and much harder to get the meat out of those shells and to have to break them open. If you're from the north, you've probably eaten more of those than you have most of the people down here. I would choose lobster over crab any day. Thank you.
You could call it lobster syndrome, also maybe called crab mentality. When you put a bunch of them in a barrel, what you notice is when one tries to climb up, the rest of them pull it back down. How have you pulled others down, Mark?
To tabletop Toastmaster, of course I've been pulling people down my entire life. However, though, I want to say to Richard, your fishing story, it really touched a nerve with me. Not to go off topic, but last month we decided we would take our daughter fishing because she always wanted to go fishing. So we pack up the car, we buy all this new fishing poles and everything. She's really excited. We get to, I think it was Newport Beach, and we get on the pier and we cast our lines in, and 8 minutes later, Dad, when are the fish going to bite? I said, are you serious? See, I grew up in a day when we would spend 6 hours in a canoe and be lucky if we caught a perch or something like that. That's how I grew up, and we loved it. But kids today are just so quick to get bored, and they don't take the time to just sit back and enjoy things. So in that case, I guess in that instance, maybe I pulled her down by wanting her to do something that she really didn't have an interest in doing. But other than that, I would say I love fishing, and I hope maybe she'll change her mind eventually. Maybe I can just put a fish on there and throw it in the line, and then do this with a fishing pole and say, oh, you got one, honey! And then she'll like it more. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop.
Time to report on the table topics, please.
Looks like everybody qualified.
Please recap.
Richard, 1 minute and 17 seconds. Roy, 146. Me, 118. Pradeep, 120. Mom, 118. Charlie, 130. Jaye, 210. Mark, 117.
Therefore, cast your ballot for anyone but me. And you can as well, Pradeep, just use the ballot on the list there, and as Roy comes around, pick them up. Madam Toastmaster, that turn's yours.
So that was fun. Some great questions there, Stephen. You took the topic and researched it. So now that we've all caught our lobsters, now we need to know what to do with them and how to clean them, and also some tips for when you're buying that lobster in the grocery store. Cleaning Florida spiny lobsters can be simple and easy with a little practice. Most people choose to clean them right there at the docks after their catch. However, if you want to wait, and listen up for this in the grocery store, be sure to keep the lobsters cold by covering them with ice or putting them in the freezer. This will keep the lobsters fresh and also put them into a sleeping state for easier handling later. So you see those lobsters in the tank at the grocery store? You want to be sure that water is well below freezing. Otherwise, depending on how long they've been in there, you might not be getting the freshest lobster. Florida spiny lobsters do not have claws, therefore the majority of their meat is in their smooth back tails. How do you clean the lobster? Holding the carapace and the tail, a quick twist and a pull, and that tail comes right off. You do that obviously. Well, some people cook it and then do it, but it'll be pot holders or something because they'll be burning hot. With a small twist and a pull, it's easy to separate them. Wash off the slimy, thick stuff or get rid of it if it's already cooked. Break off one of the antenna if you're cleaning it on the docks or if you've got the lobster in the tank and you've got the antenna. And on the very back piece of the tail where the little fan thing is, there's a little hole that goes up in the tail. Stick that antenna up in the tail. The spines on that antenna go in one direction and pull it back out. It's the same thing as debeining a shrimp. You're debeining or taking that vein out of the tail. And it's a simple process. It takes a little practice. After you're done, rinse them. If you're going to store them in the refrigerator, they'll stay fresh for about close to 72 hours, but you've got to really watch that. If you're going to put them in the freezer, wrap them really tightly with as little air as possible, get them in the freezer as fast as possible, and when you take them back out to eat them, they'll still be fresh. For cooking, there are different recipes, and I provided a few things for you guys tonight. From steaming and broiling to lobster stews, lobster lasagna, yummy. The first method of cooking is to steam or boil the tail until the meat is light pink and the shell is deep red. The estimated cooking time is 1 minute per ounce if boiling and 5 to 7 minutes if steaming. So keep note of that when you buy that lobster, some good information. Other methods of cooking lobster tails include broiling, barbecuing, and baking. The lobster tails can be cooked using these methods by easily splitting the tail in half lengthwise and basting the lobster meat with butter and herbs. You have a recipe. Cooking times will vary with the cooking method. And by now, you're all ready to go for your trip to the Keys to find your lobster. That may be the hardest part, getting a place to stay down in the Florida Keys. You must plan it well in advance and plan how and what you're going to need to do if you need to rent a boat, if you're trailering a boat. But one recommendation, if you've got a bunch of kids, you may want to send them off to one of the resorts here in Orlando, and you take off and get in the water and get wet. All right, that's it for today on lobsters. Now we need to bring up our general evaluator. A chance meeting, oh, this sounds like Stevens, am I reading the same one? Led to a gathering in a seafood restaurant. Tonight's general evaluator treated our table topics master to a meal of twin lobsters, and thus began a long and beautiful friendship and romance. Aha! Tonight, our general evaluator, a lover of lobster for so many reasons, will help guide us in the evaluation portion of our meeting. Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Susan Morgan.
Thank you, everybody, and good evening. I'm really glad to be here tonight.
for our guest. The purpose of the general evaluator is, number one, to introduce the evaluators for the evening, and then number two is to evaluate the meeting as a whole and give my report on what I think has been the best and things we can improve upon. Tonight, though, I get the distinct honor to actually be an evaluator. So we will go over that in a little bit. Our first evaluator tonight is going to be Roy Withheld. And if we can please have Roy come up and give an evaluation. Didn't see your intro, so I'll just introduce Roy.
Fellow Toastmasters, guest, and Charlie. Charlie's objectives this evening were to understand the techniques available to arouse emotion and to become skilled in arousing emotions while telling a story. So let me first start off with a couple things that I really liked about the speech tonight, Charlie. First off, I really liked the introduction. Just starting off with the questions, dare to dream, how many among you dare to dream? Now, one thing I saw, you might have gone a tad bit too fast, which I'm crazy fast, but it maybe slowed down a second because I think I was, in my mind, kind of calibrating the questions and then answering, and then you were kind of having the next question. So maybe slow down just a tad. But in general, I love the open. I love the questions, the audience engagement, getting us involved. And then I like the Martin Luther King reference right off the bat to kind of tie everything together. I really enjoyed the stories that you told. I mean, you really exemplified the American, the true American success story yourself, with all the things that you've accomplished over the years. I personally learned a lot about Charlie. I don't know if you guys knew everything, all those details, but I really enjoyed the story. I thought it was great. My recommendations, this is what I saw. You gave us pretty good detail on the stories, on really kind of the success stories, and as you accomplish things throughout your life on your way up. And then it sounded like you kind of hit a wall and things went kind of sour for you a little bit. And for me personally, that's when the emotion kicked in. I kind of became emotionally charged. I was feeling great for you the whole time, and I'm like, yes, go Charlie. I can relate to a lot of those things. And then something happened. You let your guard down, you let your walls down, and then boom, it sounds like you might have fallen to some extent. And I really think that that's the appropriate time to get in and tell the story, because that's where we can connect, that's where you can pull out emotion out of us. And really, if you kind of go back to the goals and the objectives, you need to somehow introduce conflict in the story as well. And to me, when you took the walls down and something happened, I want to know what happened. There was some kind of conflict there, and I'd like to hear more details. What happened? What did you do? You obviously climbed out of it, and a lot of stuff happened from that point forward. So some questions that I have coming out of listening to the story, I'd probably go into a little bit less detail about the success story and the initial dreams. But now that you're older, now that you've experienced conflict, what are your dreams today going forward? And kind of the lessons learned there. Because I can definitely relate to a lot of that stuff. I think for me personally, climbing the corporate ladder was a dream, and as I get older, it becomes lesser of a dream, and I can relate to the potential crash or walls coming down and things happening. So I think I'd probably transition to a little more detail. It's a great opportunity to tell a story and get us all emotionally attached and involved there. A couple of things I liked about the presentation. First of all, I really liked the overall presentation, a real sonorous delivery. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I just find Charlie is a straight up, genuine, and likable guy. He gets up here and he talks, and I'm like, I feel like I connect to him. He just tells stories from the heart. You're very clear and concise when you present, so I can always appreciate that. And well prepared. No notes, just got up here and told his story. So again, I think it's really kind of around the story itself and just putting a little bit more detail, a little bit more color into the conflict, and then what are your dreams now going forward? Just putting a little bit more detail into that. Madam Evaluator.
Sorry, Roy, for not
No worries.
your introduction. And being here tonight, I didn't provide an introduction as an evaluator because I didn't know I was going to be the evaluator until I got here. So the next step here is to evaluate the speech of Mark. Mark was going out of the vocal variety, the company communication manual with his project vocal variety. What he needed to do was select a topic and use his speech and use his voice using volume, rate, pitch, quality, pauses, expressiveness, vocal variety, organization, word usage, and body language. And he did those really well. First of all, I'd like to say that your topic selection was awesome for this speech because all the stories that you had in there were very conducive to using your voice. Your volume was excellent, your rate was excellent and varied, your pitch was varied, your quality was pleasant and friendly. The only thing that I thought you might have been able to do a little bit better was a couple of different pauses in there. You did have a lot of pauses, so that was great. But there were a couple of times that I noted, oh, if he would have just paused another second, it might have had a little bit more impact. But the organization for your speech was awesome too, and I really love that. You started off with you being in the Marines, and you had to follow protocol, and you had to get down on your hands and knees. We could just see you brushing the bathroom with the toothbrush and bleach. And then when you brought it back to nowadays, and you're at home with your wife and doing that, that was really great. That just went right into where you were heading for this story. Then getting your text from your daughter that the house is on fire. Oh my gosh. Well, of course you can use vocal variety on that really well. And I love that. And you told us that she didn't use protocol because she didn't add an emoticon or LOL at the end when she said the house was on fire. And all the different stories you were able to come up with, your wife calling 911 and saying, save the cats and dad as an afterthought. Yeah, I could see why that might be a little bit upsetting. I loved how throughout your whole speech you had the phrase, follow protocol and life is good. And I thought that going through the end was really great. One of the only other things that I could possibly suggest is the title, a small thing about protocol, maybe about text protocol, because you use text protocol, but even that is a small thing. I enjoyed every single bit of your speech. I thought it was very funny. I think this could be a humorous speech, so please keep that in mind for our contest coming up. And I will return the lector to our general evaluator, who is me. I would like to start off with a timers report for our evaluators this evening.
I didn't get when you started exactly, because you didn't say when you were going to start, so I got very confused with both of you did not qualify. Because both went overtime. Roy went 3 minutes and 45 seconds, and one of you went 3 minutes and 35 seconds.
Okay, I guess we have no evaluator winner this evening. We got to work on that. So that's one of the things we can work on in our general evaluation. But first, I would like to get a report from our grammarian and awe counter, Richard. Please let us
and thoughts about it. So a lot of speaking about lobster, so there were a few ahs and ums, and a couple of sentences that began with bridge words and or so. Roy, I caught an Emma, I caught a couple. I've said 4 or 5 myself. Everybody else seemed relatively clear. As far as the grammarian report goes, we had one user of my word of the day, which was Roy moments ago. Mark, lower than cat's lockery, great with fighting my Xbox, bonfire warrants a call. Jay, I don't know what tickle sticks are. I love your reference for lobsters as bugs. I think everyone's heard the lip shrimp or the cockroach of the sea. So being able to just visually kind of compare that lobster to the bug, I thought was great. The spiny, speckled Spanish lobster, the definition during the table topic was fantastic. Let's see. Roy, when you said I cannot read your mind, you should know that you should be able to read your wife's mind, so do something about that. Everybody that enters into a committed relationship, you're supposed to know it's coming from the non-married individual. Charlie, I thought you did fantastic with your description of the getting out of the abyss, the depths of hell, and then immediately turning that into running on the ocean with the blue skies, running in the sand, the comparison, immediately following each other was fantastic. Pradeep, excellent with everyday choices to help influence people. I thought your table topics was fantastic. Just general evaluation.
Very well done. I enjoyed that. As far as the rest of the meeting, I guess the evaluators need to work on time. Maybe the timer needs to work on when the evaluators start.
No, that was for you.
But that was my own fault because I didn't say when I was starting. Yes, Roy, you have a question.
If I may, just encourage the room to vote for best speaker if you have not. And if anybody has anything, please let me know. There's just
I thought one speaker didn't qualify.
One speaker didn't qualify, and
oh, I'm sorry, one speaker didn't qualify. Okay.
yeah.
Most improved though would be
I
a
was
good
not thinking.
idea. If everyone would make a vote
The
for.
one qualified with Mark, Charlie did not.
Charlie did not. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
So most improved is the vote that we take for the person who you heard speak better this time than you heard them the last time, or something to that effect. So please do that. And we started on time. Richard was right here opening the meeting with a 2-minute warning and got us together, even though we had a small turnout today. We all managed to get the roles filled and be able to handle our roles this evening. So I was really proud of us for doing that. It's always a little challenging when some of our members aren't able to come. So that is my response for my general evaluation, and it is now my pleasure to reintroduce our president, Mark Lockery.
Thank you, Susan. Before we do the awards, we'll give Roy a chance to finish tabulating. Next week, we're doing the Moments of Truth, and there's probably some people in here that have never been through a Moments of Truth. So what I'd like to do is, Stephen, now that you're drinking water, I'd like to call upon you and see if you could just explain what a Moments of Truth meeting is all about for us that don't know.
Mr. President, actually that will be explained in the presentation itself as well, but the Moments of Truth is recommended by Toastmasters International. It had been to do it once a year, now they're saying twice a year. And as part of the roadshow, the district is requesting we do it 2 times a year in order to qualify for various incentives or money, gift certificates that we can use for the club, for getting more materials. But the basic concept of the Moments of Truth is the moment of truth is when somebody makes the decision to join a club or to stay with a club or to leave. And at those moments of truth, we need to be ready to act on those moments in order to get more members in, to keep people coming back. Therefore, it's going to be a lot of discussion, it's going to be interactive, we're going to want to get everyone involved so we get the feedback. Therefore, as has often happened in the past, whenever we announce that we're having a moment of truth, it seems people don't show up. If you don't show up, we will not do it until the meeting you do show up. Therefore, don't think you're getting out of it by skipping out, because we need everyone's feedback, because it's going to be the individual pieces that we get an idea that gives the officers also direction and the club as a whole direction to help improve things going forward. So that will be the concept of the moments of truth.
Okay. Are there any roles or anything like that that we will not be doing? Are we still going to have like the odd counter, the timer, and all that? Or?
We can. There's no reason not to. We certainly will want a timer for certain parts of it, because we'll want to limit discussion times. But other than that, it's no problem having an odd counter. It would be, or the grammarian.
We do have one speaker ahead.
The poll, then I guess we'll need those anyway.
Yeah.
So yes, we'll need those.
Okay. All right, thank you. And again, just a reminder, we have officer training Saturday. So Richard, I think you said that you will not be there Saturday?
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Okay, so
Yeah, no.
we need to make sure that we get you scheduled for the makeup session.
August 14th.
August 14th, there you go. Which is Sunday. Okay, I have in my hand the awards for this evening. Pradeep? No, don't need to get up just yet. Wait till I just want to get your feedback on the meeting. So I know this is your second meeting. So what you can go ahead and stand up now. What did you think of the meeting tonight?
So overall, I liked it, the first one, and the second one too. I was talking to Roy via an email. My time commitment thing is what I'm working on. That's why I'm not a regular member here, etc. Coming back to the meeting, I was thinking when Richard was talking about moments of truth discussion that we'll have next week. So I was wondering, like, say for new members and new guests, right? Not that you have one every week or a couple, but I was wondering if you include something, maybe like a 5-minute window, where you give an overview of, okay, who's an officer, or, you know, just maybe the overall structure or things of that nature. I was just wondering if that's something that you should consider, or things of that nature. Obviously, the guest can stay back and ask, but, you know, something along the lines of 4 or 5 minutes, if some new guest is there, who is an officer and what are different levels and things of that nature.
Yeah, actually, last week we had a speech that kind of went over that, and actually I did prepare a speech that kind of goes over the whole meeting in general. That was the whole meat and potatoes thing, like what's involved with the meeting. So yeah, those are definitely on the schedule. That we'll do that again. Thanks for that. All right, thank you. Okay, let's hand out some awards. Tim Chastain Award tonight goes to a person that took on 2 roles. One of them a main speaking role, which is never easy to do. But I'm going to give the Tim Chastain Award tonight to Susan Morgan. Our most improved award tonight goes to Jaye M. Our best table topics award tonight. Maybe he can show this to his wife. County point, he won't get into much trouble. He was in boiling hot water this morning, Mr. Woodley.
Absolutely. Absolutely not.
And best speaker award tonight. By default, I'll take it anyways. Okay, I know next week is Moments of Truth, but we do have open slots. Let's go ahead and fill the functionary positions for those. So if you have some time and want to fill a role, let Susan know. And also, don't forget to sign up for roles in the upcoming week. And don't forget August 31st is the contest. Obviously, the more people that we have enter the contest, the more fun it is. It's always fun and enjoyable. And it's not just humor speech, it's also an evaluation contest, which is also a great learning opportunity. One of these years, I might actually join that one. Too hard for me. Anybody have any other business before we adjourn? Meeting adjourned.